you for joining me, Oluwayomi Oluwapelumi, on Societal Concern today. I'm sure your day has been going well. And what do we have for you today on Societal Concern? Well, we're going to be talking about the Student Law Act, analyzing the sustainability of the Student Law Act 2023. It's a good news anyway, but before we go there, let's check our highlights. Talent is given to everyone and not just only for personal use, but to enrich the use of others and other lives. And this is why Societal Concern will have to congratulate Hilda Bassi and Chef Damilola Adeparusi for their cookathon success. The difference between these two celebrities for now is that Hilda Bassi was able to treasure her talent, and she is officially recognized as the holder of the longest cooking hour actor in the world, 96 hours. But for Hilda Bassi, the Guinness Book of Record is actually recognizing her as the holder, the actor of the longest cooking hour, 96 hours. The Guinness Book also confirmed that these accounts of Hilda Bassi's cooking competition also gave them the highest engagement on social media. But for the Ekiti State Chef Dami, she did not apply for the Guinness Book and the Guinness World Record before embarking on this cookathon, yet she's been recognized by friends and she got endorsement around. Yes, she said that she really did this for the joy of it. Celebrating her Societal Concern really wants to celebrate this too. And let's have what she has to say on our media.
Nípa ti Guinness Book of Record àti bóyá mo compete pẹ̀lú Hilda Bassi, mo kàn ṣe nǹkan tó máa ń jẹ́ kí inú mi dùn, nǹkan tí mo máa ń enjoy, tó máa ń dùn mọ́ mi inú tí n bá ń ṣe cooking. Guinness Book of Record kò sí nínú èròǹgbà fún mi pé kinní kan, because I'm not doing it. Mo ṣe pé kí Guinness of Record kan lè mọ̀ mi. I'm just doing it for people that might want to watch this little girl. Àwọn tó bá fẹ́ wo ọmọ kékeré tó ń dáná yìí àbí èmi fúnra mi tí mo fẹ́ enjoy kí n máa dúró nínú kitchen. Something I did it, mo kàn ṣe fún nǹkan because mo ṣe fún mi know that Guinness of Record will want to do something. Ìgbésí ọjọ́ ayé mi láti ọjọ́ márùn-ún sẹ́yìn. Mo lè sọ pé to me, see me is something ó dùn gan, like at least kó máa dáná tó wá ṣáà sí nǹkan tó wẹ̀ ṣáà máa dáná lọ for 5 days for 120 hours. Èròǹgbà kan mi ní pé kí n kàn ṣáà kó àwọn èèyàn mi jọ ká dáná fún 120 hours ká dẹ̀ enjoy ara wa ká dẹ̀ tún padà sí bí báyé máa ń live life wa tẹ́lẹ̀. Mo lè explain bóyá rí lọ́kàn because I know some people àwọn èèyàn ó máa yà wọ́n lẹ́nu bó ṣe máa yà yín náà lẹ́nu náà ló ṣe yà mí lẹ́nu because mo lè sọ̀rọ̀ pé mo lè sọ but I feel very good about that. At least I know some people love me.
Because until one dies, one doesn't quit learning. So the student loan is a laudable one because it has been in existence for time past. A lot of our leaders presently enjoyed free education and they also benefited from the free loan. So why not? Why can't our generation also benefit from it? It's a good one if it is done well and the masses in particular can benefit from it. Then it will make us go a long way. You know, when a lot of people are educated, they come out of poverty because poverty is education is the main, strength of empowerment. And when our people have access to loan and they can get education to every height they desire, then it's an assurance that Nigeria
is a good initiative. It's a welcome development. I think the government have done well. It's going to help our students, our youths to advance their studies. And with that, when they return, we need knowledge to advance. Even as a country, as a nation, we need knowledge. And so with this bill, it's going to assist a lot of them to acquire more education, advance, go, and then come back, establish, or they will help us manage some of the parastatals here in Nigeria. And then I think there will be improvement in the nearest future. It's a good one. I think.
Okay, my name is Oladimeji Oluwatosin, criminology student of National Open University. First and foremost, concerning the new bill, the student loan bill. First and foremost, I have to appreciate our president, at least, for signing the bill, giving his assent to the bill. I have to commend him for that. At least that goes a long way as a financial aid to we the students. And my own suggestion concerning the bill is that if the government can still make it free for the repayments, should be the loan should be free for all the students, because the way things are now is very tough due to the pump price, the increment in pump price, the fuel issues. We're all facing it, and it's really hard time for us in Nigeria. I know we are going to skate through this time, but I wish the federal government can do what? Can make this thing free for us. So that we have a lot of students that they want to even apply and they are not able to pay, because we have no student that's not even working. We have no student that is no parents and they are still hustling on their own to meet up with the fees. So if the students are not able to pay back and they even sentence them, so what's the advantage of even giving them the loan at the first instance? After graduating, you send them to prison. So I wish if the government can make this loan free the payments, you shouldn't pay back. So it will be of help.
So if they are self-employed now, will they pay? Maybe they can be working out from their own personal home now as a entrepreneur. We don't have to pay because the society has not employed them yet to. You understand, man? So I want to understand that. So now, for instance, now I'm working by myself. If I should get this loan now, will I pay? Or until the government employ me, or till when the society has given me a job and then I will pay back? That's just what I want to know.
Well, it's sort of a good idea, but I don't feel like it will be something that will go on the long-term run. Why? Because most students might use it for I don't know, but I just feel like it won't work. Simple.
So we just listened to the contribution of the people concerning this student loan bill. And with me in the studio, I have the honor and the privilege to introduce to you the former CEO, Chief Executive Officer of R7 Global Resource, and he is also the legislative leader of the House, Ojodu LCDA. It is my pleasure to introduce and to present to you Honorable Opeyemi Apatira. Thank you for joining us, sir. It is a good opportunity to have you on Societal Concern with Oluwayomi Oluwapelumi. How do you feel being here, sir?
Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine. I feel great to be here to be able to discuss on topical issues in the nation. Thank you very much.
But you see, I'm just curious. You came from technology as a technologist, the CEO. You used to be the CEO before this appointment. And how come politics, technology? So how did you get it?
Well, a lot of people don't find the correlation, but coming into politics, it's because of a drive to be able to get involved. There's this popular saying that goes thus, that if you don't participate in politics, you end up being governed by morons, by people that are superior to you in terms of intellect. We can't all just sit back and complain all the time, because by the time we do all the hard works, come up with a lot of innovations, we still need government to approve to bring up policies for all these things. And if we don't get involved and we keep complaining, we are just going to be merry-go-rounding and complain till eternity. So we need people that are in the industry, people that are CEOs, people that are captains of industries to come over and get involved in politics so we can all move these nations forward together.
Did you just hear that? Honorable Akpatira is giving you a welcome into politics. Get involved. I tell you, you just need to get involved. It's getting better anyway. I think, well, some people say it's just too early to decide, but I think you just need to get involved and just don't stay out there to give your comment. So, well, sir, we're talking about the Student Loan Act. The president, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, signed this act, the Student Loan Act, June 12. And there had been a lot of talk about it. The situation had been like, okay, analyzing it, the appropriation of the act, assessing it, and the likes. We have a lot of questions out there. People have really sent in their questions, which we believe you have some insight into this. So, but for the act, what can you say about it?
It's a lovely one. It's a very welcome and novel idea. Although it's not completely new, it's just revamped, which for information purpose, it was initiated in the House again by Honorable Bajambe Amila, the leader of the House, in 2019, the past leader of the House in 2019. And after then, it has been worked on. They've had a series of sittings to perfect the bill. Although no bill is perfect all over the world, we are all human. There's going to be a continuous tweak just to make sure it conforms to realities of the day as time goes by. And you see, about Asiwaju, the current president of Nigeria, he's just delivering on his campaign promises. And it's landmark achievements in less than 20 days of his presidency that he's already delivered on 2 of his campaign promises. If people really listened when he was going around and during his campaign trail, he promised these things and he's already delivering on it. The students loan scheme is not new. Like I was discussing with somebody today, it's been around since 1972, but it failed. But I'm happy that the conditions at which it failed then, those conditions are well taken care of this time around. Although, like I said, no bill is perfect.
Okay, if you're talking about the conditions, let's look into the act. Let's look into the bill. Let's look into the conditions attached to this bill. Are the bill applicable for private for public universities?
It's a matter of understanding. The bill, one of the requirements for you to be eligible to take the student loan is that you have to earn less than 500,000 naira. Your household has to earn less than 500,000 naira per year. That is about 42,000 naira per month. So definitely you can't earn that kind of amount and have your kids in private school. So it is applied, although it's not it's not stated that it's for public school, but of course we all know that such kind of income is meant for people that can only afford to take their kids to a private tertiary institution, sorry, a public tertiary institution.
But with that, having less than 500,000 as an household, there is more to it. If this is the condition that the household must have less than 500,000, that means like 40-something thousand,
42,000
naira
per month.
And the income should be from the father and the mother.
Yes.
And with that, we're talking about 500,000. And with this condition, there are other conditions that are also attached to it.
Yes. That's just one of it.
That is just one of it. If one is going to be having less than this, okay, and you can apply and you can also access this bill, it's fine. But what about the condition, the eligibility? If you have to do that, you have to present guarantor, you have to present. So how about that? I
think those are just normal requirements. Like you have to get someone in the civil service at level 12 to stand for you as a guarantor. Those are regular requirements.
How would one with less than 500,000 naira get a guarantor of level 12, civil servant, or a lawyer, or a judge? A lawyer with 19 years post-call history or a judge?
I think you're mixing up the requirements. If you get a level 2, level 12 civil servant, then you don't have to get a lawyer that has had 10 years of core. Yes. I think the idea...
Or a director.
Okay. The idea behind having a guarantor for loans and other things is a matter of trust.
Okay.
Because it's not even trust from the lender, it's trust from the community. The lender has to be sure that you are being trusted in your community. You can't tell me that you will go to your community and you won't find at least 2 civil servants that will be able to guarantee you for 1 or 2 things. That means you have a good standing in your community before you can take a loan from any institution, government inclusive.
Okay, but why would anyone, this is a question from someone, why would anyone with access to these people need a student loan?
You have access to people at level 12. Why when they are not...
Why would one with access to those people need a student loan? You have someone of level 12, you have a director, or probably you have a director, and you need a student loan.
Honestly, it's a very tricky question, and I don't want to say funny. That's why I stayed on tricky, because normally you're not meant to be begging around for education or what you need. It's honorable for you to do it all on your own. I think this mentality of, okay, I know somebody that is rich enough and I can easily go there and beg for what I need for my education is a very bad mentality. It's one of the reasons why we are behind globally. So I think that question is coming from such mentality, which we really need to abolish.
Okay, and this is it now. There's someone now said that if the student or parent have to default, that is part of the requirement, that is part of the condition to be eligible to get this loan, that the student or the parent would not need to default in any previous loan.
Yes.
So if the student or parent have to default, that means they will not be...
that means you don't have credibility. If you've defaulted a loan previously, then you are not eligible for... I think are you used to any of all these loan apps? Do you know what is called credit reports? Before you take a loan from a new institution, they check your credit reports if you don't have a loan prior. So if you've defaulted before, that means you don't have a good credit history. No one will give you funds. So what is the assurance that you won't default again and move to the next one?
Well, there are 2 sides of the coin.
Okay.
If probably there is a bad report of someone who is trying to apply from the government, but this is from the government according to the explanation of what this person is asking. This is from the government, right? And this is on the basis of education, and this is just to sort an economic problem, and not just for private consumption and all that. If this loan is actually for this act to sort out this menace, so why should the government now consider your past record when there is a need, and it's not as if the family actually want to base their family expenses on what is coming for education?
I think you're asking a very important question, and honestly, I love the questions that are coming up with this bill, and it's really is a microscopic view into the heart and soul of our mentality in this country. Number one, let me tell you something. Everything is interconnected, be it private sector, public sector, and every other sector you might think of here in Nigeria. Okay, like while reading through the bill, I got to discover that it's not CBN is involved. Other commercial banks too are involved.
Yeah, we are saying coming to that.
That is private. That is private. So all these bodies are connected. So there is no way be it government or even charity, I'm not going to give you 1 kobo if you have a bad credit report. That means there is no assurance for me for you to be able to default on your loan on the in other sector. That means you are a serial defaulter. Yes, it's all about reports, and that is how all these Western countries are able to be better in some ways than we are.
Well, sir, you may say so, but considering the people that have to access, or the government want to access this loan, indigent. Now, part of the condition from the guarantor also says that the civil service director or the judge, whoever, serving as the guarantor, must write a letter promising to repay the loan if the student defaults.
I haven't read that, and I've gone through that bill very well. I don't think did you bring that up, or somebody asked that question?
That is a question.
Because there's penalty for payments.
That's a question.
There's a penalty. I don't think that's not part of the law. There's a penalty for payments for defaulting, and that penalty is not falling back on whoever is guaranteeing you. It's falling back on you.
So for the requirement of application, for you to apply, and your guarantor must bring evidences and in order to say, but for real, even if you're saying that this is not it, why do we need a guarantor for government loan, student loan at that? So Honorable, come to think of it, the actual aim for government to bring up this loan act again is to address the financial constraints in order not to hinder indigent students to gain higher education, right? So then why would the students need a guarantor?
Let me start by saying that the purpose of student loan, especially the one that is being currently signed by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is just to address the major issue of lack of education in the country, which is poverty. So, and if you are being asked to get a guarantor, who takes a loan without getting a guarantor?
Who takes a loan without a guarantor?
Without a form of guarantee, not private sector, not public sector, not anyone. There has to be a guarantee of repayment, or someone that can vouch for you. If nobody is able to vouch for you to take a loan, then you are not credible. It's a question of character and credibility.
Okay, so now we're talking about the repayment also 2 years after youth service. Sir, I'm going to ask, considering the factor, the work space, considering employment, considering gaining access to employment, we have a lot of youth out there. Are you saying that after this, all youth will be able to gain employment after 2 years or within 2 years?
No, but I think we react a lot other than understanding the major contents of some of these bills and events in the country. And why I said that is because people feel after 2 years, if I'm not able to pay, I'm going to be pursued around and arrested and jailed. No, there is an if clause there, which attaches a condition to it, that provided you have a job and you refuse to pay back, or provided you have a business and you refuse to file for the fact that you have a business and you can pay back, that is when it becomes criminal. You have the means to pay back, but you're not paying back. But if you haven't got a job, then nobody is going to hold you for not paying back. And this is a very lovely one. Do you know why? Because government wants to recover its money. They want to recoup their money. Definitely. And for the President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that I know, there are also plans in the works to make sure that students get jobs or become business owners, SMEs, after their education in the universities.
Okay, so processing and disbursement within 30 days of share receipts, 10% salary deduction on profits.
Another thing we refuse to understand is an interest-free loan.
Yeah, interest-free loan, but assessing the loan, there are conditions to assessing the loan, and there is also a clause that the loan is going to be disbursed on availability of fund. And that is where my question is going to come from. Who fund the loan? How do we get to fund the loan?
I think I'm sure of about 3 sources of funding the loan. One is through tax, 1% of tax.
From FRS?
FRS, the
Immigration and Customs?
Yes, and everywhere tax is coming in
1%
and that is about
government profit from oil and
gas. That is put together, that's more than 300 billion naira.
And we also have education, Nigeria education
bond,
loan, interest.
Education bond, gifts, grants, and all of that.
Bond, education endowment.
So I believe it's a well thought out plan. as regards funding. And I understand if in the condition there is based on availability of fund, there is definitely a reason for that. The government have to play safe because there are a lot of unforeseen circumstances, especially regarding crude prices and all that. What if we get to a stage whereby electricity is taking over and we have to adjust? So those are, and people will not understand that, okay, there are new realities that need to be adhered to. So I believe that's why that clause is there, based on availability of funds.
But talking about this availability of funds, is it not already discouraging Nigeria? Because a lot of people are raising highbrow on this. If you're talking about the government doing something and you're still talking about availability of funds, that means at any time they can tell you there is no fund. And checking on the entries, you know, definitely everybody, most people really want to put in. You don't really know the number of out of school students. You don't know if by the time they get the admission, because definitely they have to provide proof that they are already in the school. So putting into this from different schools, different public schools, and you're talking about the availability of funds, we don't even know. Okay, we're still going to talk about.
Let me address that.
Okay.
I think what we need to appreciate with regards to that is the sincerity of this government in being able to come out straight and tell based on the availability of funds. The fact is, every policy, every grant, every loan is always based on availability of funds, be it government, be it private sector, even in all these countries that we look up to. But the fact that this government is even saying it publicly, and it shows the level of transparency that it's going to practice. It's
so how do we evaluate the number of people that get this loan from those that would not?
I'm sure there are committees which includes the central bank governor and some people in the top people in the banking sector that will do that. And I see this on the long run involving fintech companies that already have data, analytical data on granting loan to people, because that way is really, this is just a first stage. I know that it's gonna mature into something that will be easily accessible and easy for people to employ and go by.
Okay, and also talking about this loan, is saying 2 years imprisonment of 500,000 fine for default. How realistic is this? Why should the default go for 500,000 or 2 years imprisonment?
Do you know that something you need to understand? There are two versions of this bill going around. The one that was first proposed and the one that has been yes, that has been signed. The ones that has been signed is silent on all these things. People are just mixing it up together. The ones that has been signed hasn't mentioned this, that 2 years for defaulters, and I'm sure there'll be penalty for defaulters, but it's not clearly stated yet.
Okay, but even with that, the big question is, by the time a student gets this loan and you're able to pass through school, get your NYSC, after 2 years you are not able to get a job, what happened?
Nobody is going to hold you for not being able to get a job. You can't enforce someone that hasn't the condition is there that you have to pay back if you are working. In fact, the way it's been
and
planned,
if not, will it be written off?
No, it's not possible to write off a loan. This fund is being pulled from collective reserve. So it's in my opinion, it's even going to be irresponsible for government to write off, except there's a policy, maybe a financial policy that, okay, our finance as a country, we can write, like it is happening in the United States of America. Biden is trying to write off a percentage of student loans. Not even everything. So if we have that financial backing, financial strength to be able to write off, why not? Okay. And if we don't, then in fact, when he was talking about writing off, some people are angry and protesting against it because they said they've paid theirs. Why is it that other people are trying to be responsible and not pay theirs? You got this loan and you got a job. For people that got a job and are able to pay it back, why are you trying not to pay it back?
Okay, and this is also saying that it is only based on tuition only. How do we talk about that? What do you think about that? If you need to go to school, and even in the school, your bill is more than tuition. There are other levies. So how do we engage on that?
Well, it still boils down to responsibility or irresponsibility, because you can't, even if you are given a scholarship, nobody takes it. They only take care of your fees when you are given a scholarship. Okay, maybe they will go extra mile if you are in secondary school, probably take care of your uniforms, maybe for a term. But scholarships and grants and all these things are based on tuition alone.
So I think the essence of analyzing this is for people out there to prepare their mind. If you really want to go for the bill, don't really think that the government wants to take care of everything. Your school, like, it's not as if, it's not that this bill want to take care of all of your school expenses and all that. It's just taking care of a portion.
Yes, your tuition, just to make sure you are able to. Other things, you can find a way to get it yourself. Like, people do part-time jobs to be able to, even now without loan, people do jobs, part-time jobs, to be able to, you know, take care of their bills and all of that. Even in America, a lot of students work when they are not during school hours.
Okay, so how do we guide against misappropriation of these funds?
Well, that depends on the people in charge. One thing I'm going to, you know, this bill is new. And like I said, is something that's going to be continuously tweaked to fit into. The assurity that I know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is somebody we are blessed with at this period in time. Is somebody that is a doer, somebody that understands the problems of this country. I know, and like you all know, we all know that the problem of policies in Nigeria is not the policy itself. We always have novel ideas, but execution is the problem. And I think that was what killed the last one. And it's a matter of trust in governance. If to an extent, like we are all doing now, we are able to trust this government to put this, to put the right people in the executable stage of this project, it will work. And there are a lot of checks and balances in place now that we don't have then. You know, I told you this kind of bill was first enacted in 1972 by the government of Gowon, and it failed. It failed because the government was unable to recoup back their loans. That was why they stopped it. And now you see how important it is to be able to get back these loans. And the reason was because there was no IT, no information technology. A lot of people use fake addresses, fake information to get this loan. So recovery was impossible.
Okay, if it really happened that people use fake identity to get the loan, to access this loan, how sure, what are the measures that are guiding against the fact that it cannot happen and it will not repeat itself this time?
It's almost impossible to do that now. Now we have BVN. It is impossible to be able to use fake ID, almost impossible. Don't let me say it's completely impossible, but the chance of that is reduced to almost zero. Because now we all have NIN, we all have BVN, different numbers, like they have SSN in other developed countries to identify you everywhere you go. And now it's almost embedded in every activities of our life. You go to bank, you need to put all these identities, and with that number, all of your information can be. And
are you now saying that the government eventually will make a body that will be following up in order to equip back this loan? And again, I also want to ask, knowing that this act is coming from the federal government, how possible, in order to make it more realistic and for people to really be able to access it, as it is really meant for the indigent students, in order to bring it to the state level, for state to be able to take over this bill, this act, for students to be able to access, so that it can really make fruitfulness of the essence?
Do you know why NGOs come to government when they want to do their good works? Because of the network. Government is the one singular body that has a network that no organization is able to manage or muster in the world. The fact that we have federal level, structure at the federal level that's compressed into states, compressed into local, now compressed into the CDA, that is a structure. Through that, I'm 100% certain that people that really need that loan will be identified.
So you're trying to say that it is fine for it to be on that structure?
Yes, of course it is.
Well, Honorable, so then let me ask you this big question. How and who are really eligible to access this loan? Who are the people?
I think it's a public document. It's there. Like I said, people that their household earn 500k or less in a year, that is about 42,000 naira per month.
Okay, now that the government is coming to review this allowance, a minimum wage, so do you know that this definitely will change? Because by every standard, we should be talking about the minimum wage. Or are you saying that anybody under the or ordinarily civil servants will not be able to access?
I think we should wait for the review first and see if the review is something that's going to spiral into the review of the requirements of this bill. You never know.
Well, we should also prepare our mind, and a lot of people, of course, definitely we have families that have their what about to enter or already in school.
Let me give you an instance. I think I don't remember the year, but it's been long. When NYSC was first introduced, there was fear, complaint, and things. It was even more intense than this. But gradually, we began to understand. We began to follow up. Everybody it became part of us. The idea became very, very visible to everybody, and we followed up with it. It's the same thing as this. Nigerians, I'll be more worried if I don't hear complaints, attacks from Nigerians when a new initiative is being brought up. We are typical Nigerians. When something it has come again, they want to, it's normal. But it depends on, I'm sure we have a responsible government at the ends of our affairs now. And all this concerned, I think if you recall, about 3 days or 4 days ago, the president had a meeting with the heads of the students. This is major part of what was discussed, to understand their issues and know how to fashion all these things to make sure it works.
So how soon do we expect this bill to be?
It's already signed. I think implementation starts September. So from now till then, a lot of things will be put in place.
Okay, and the government also said they're going to be engaging SMEs in harnessing this loan for assessment. So what do you think about this, the SME?
I think that will be the major reason why this initiative will be successful.
Really?
Yes.
But the SME they're not strong, and that is why they always look for the government, looking for access to.
Do you have a PalmPay account?
No, I don't.
Do you know how many people had PalmPay accounts during the period when bank networks was bad?
Yeah, I can have an idea.
Do you know Carbon? People diverted to all this because it is tech. Most SMEs are built from the ground up to leverage on current technologies, and that was why those banks were working when big commercial banks were having issues. You are saying SMEs are not strong. I think the driver of any community in this world is SME. If your SMEs are not strong, your economy can never be strong, because most of these big companies as well, they started as SME. Look at Microsoft, for example, in the United States. They all started as SME, even Tesla and all these big companies you now talk of nowadays. So if our SME base is not strong, our economy is done. It's not going to be strong. And I can tell you, for somebody coming from that angle, when they talk about taking it through SMEs, I'm sure they are talking about fintech and all these identity companies like the likes of Doja. Those are the apparatus that will be put in place to make sure that verification and all that is done correctly. All these things are being handled by SMEs. When you want to do verification on maybe your loan apps and all of that, you don't know there are small companies that have written APIs. APIs we call is like an access to a platform that are helping even other big banks in verification, in payments, in all these services that make sure these things are successful.
Okay, well, Honorable, thank you for all these answers to this question. So this is trying to bring this to reality, and you should have some way of trying to encourage our youth out there and the people out there. So what is your word for them?
Well, for youths out there, I'm going to say, if you're coming into politics, get something done. Because it's only when you bring something to the table that you'll be reckoned with. And I'm sure the youthful population, right now, we are the most productive population. Look at our boys in Flutter Waves and Payback. They are young guys like us. And a lot, like about 3 or 4 companies in Nigeria has gone unicorn. When you say a company has gone unicorn, that means it's worth over $1 billion, not naira this time around. That is a big deal. And we have a lot of them, the likes of Andela, Paystack, Flutterwave, and many others to mention. And these companies have been handled by youths. So we have it in us. It's left for us to dig deeper and come up with initiative that not only supports the populace as a whole, but helps the government. Because we are also the government, if you look at it. The president, the councillor, whoever is going to lead is just from within us. So we're only going to get what we give. So if we give love and responsibility, that's what we get. How many of our people in the streets now that are given money that will be able to do justice? But when maybe a government official does bad thing, they're always the first to complain. We always have to look inwards and be responsible as citizens. Then we can move forward.
All right, thank you so much for this word of encouragement, and I believe it's going to go a long way with the situation Nigeria is turning to become. And I just want to let you know that on this bill, the Student Loan Act, interest-free loan, we just have to be patient with the government to know how, why, and what about this bill. All it entails will definitely be unfolded as time goes on. It's just a new bill that is being passed. It's been signed. Yes, congratulations to us. Congratulations to Nigeria, because we are seeing that Nigeria education is getting it better. It's getting it nice, right?
Attention.
It's really getting attention. And this is a good start for the Federal Republic of Nigeria to, even within the space of 1 month, 30 days in office, having
less than 20 days.
That is the point. Having this attention, then we definitely know that the story of education in Nigeria is going to be rewritten. So, and that is why we just have to be patient. Let every of our desire concerning this bill be softened, and let's see how it's going to be unfolded. Honorable Opeyemi Patira has been here with us, and thank God for his wealth of wisdom. He's been able to let us know that with all that you're doing and with all your intention on this bill, it's not as serious as you think, but notwithstanding, make sure you're credit worthy, because that definitely is going to be a condition, even though you are a student. Well, and also on this note, I, Oluwayomi Oluwapelumi, will be signing out until we meet again next week. I must tell you, enjoy your weekend. Have a fruitful one. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.